The examination hall stretched across 3 hectares of sterile white flooring, filled with candidates from 47 species across the Galactic Coalition. Andrea sat at her designated terminal, her fingers drumming nervously against the smooth surface as the proctor's voice echoed through the chamber. You have 1 standard cycle to complete the Strategic Command examination. Begin. The holographic display flickered to life before her, cycling through preliminary questions about fleet formations, resource management, and diplomatic protocols. Andrea breezed through them with practiced efficiency. She had spent 2 years preparing for this moment, studying alongside her partner Alex at the Terran Military Academy. They were the first humans to qualify for the Coalition's Elite Command program in over a decade. 45 minutes into the examination, Andrea reached Question 17. Question 17. Name 1 tactical maneuver suitable for engaging a superior enemy force. Andrea's lips curved into a slight smile. Just 1? The question seemed almost insultingly simple. Her instructors at the academy had drilled hundreds of tactical scenarios into her mind. Retreat and regroup, guerrilla harassment, feigned vulnerability, divided focus, terrain exploitation. Her fingers hovered over the input field. The instruction was clear. Name 1 tactic. But Andrea had never been one to do the bare minimum. If they wanted to see what humanity could bring to the Coalition's military command structure, she would show them. She began typing. Across the hall, Alex had reached the same question. He stared at it for a moment, then glanced around the room. The insectoid Thrick to his left had already moved on. The crystalline Vextor beside him was still processing question 12. Alex turned back to his screen and typed a single word. Ambush. Simple. Clean. What they asked for. He submitted and moved to question 18, but something nagged at the back of his mind. Andrea wouldn't have stopped at 1. He knew her too well. She would have seen this as an opportunity to demonstrate human tactical doctrine, to prove that Earth's warriors belonged among the Coalition's finest. Alex felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Meanwhile, Andrea was still typing. Her response had grown to encompass 73 distinct tactical maneuvers, each with a brief explanation of applicable scenarios: flanking movements, false retreats, pincer formations, decoy deployments, communications jamming, supply line interdiction. The list went on, organized by category and combat situation. She included historical examples from human warfare: Hannibal at Cannae, the Mongol feigned retreats, MacArthur's island hopping, the Tet Offensive's psychological impact. She cross-referenced them with known Coalition battles, showing how human tactical thinking could have altered outcomes. When she finally submitted her answer, Andrea felt a surge of pride. Let the other candidates give their single-word responses. She had just demonstrated the depth and breadth of human military theory. The examination continued. Alex finished with 20 minutes to spare, confident but worried. Andrea used every second, refining her responses and adding detail where she could. 3 days later, they received their results. Alex stood in the corridor of the Coalition Academy, staring at his datapad in disbelief. He had passed. Scored in the 87th percentile, a guaranteed placement in the command training program. Andrea sat on a bench nearby, her own datapad dark in her lap. Her face was pale. I failed question 17, she said quietly. Marked incorrect for failure to follow instructions. What? Alex moved to sit beside her. How is that possible? You know more tactics than half the instructors here. The question asked for 1 tactic. Andrea's voice was hollow. I gave them 73. The automated grading system flagged it as non-compliant. My overall score dropped below the passing threshold. Alex felt anger rising in his chest. That's insane. You demonstrated superior knowledge. You showed initiative. I didn't follow the rules, Andrea interrupted. She looked up at him, and he saw tears threatening to spill from her eyes. In their military structure, that's the worst thing you can do. Compliance over creativity. Order over innovation. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, other candidates celebrated or commiserated, but the two humans remained isolated in their shock. "I'm filing an appeal," Alex said finally. "This is ridiculous. The coalition needs tactical thinkers, not mindless drones who can only answer exactly what's asked." Andrea shook her head. "The rules were clear, Alex. I thought showing more would be better. That's how we were trained on Earth. Go above and beyond, exceed expectations." "And that's exactly what makes humans valuable," Alex insisted. He pulled up his communicator. "I'm calling Commander Jakara. She's human. She'll understand." Over the next week, Andrea's case became a minor scandal within the Coalition Academy. Commander Jakara, a human who had risen to the rank of fleet commander through decades of service, personally reviewed the examination results. She brought the case before the Academic Council. The debate was fierce. The Thricht representatives argued that military discipline required absolute adherence to orders. The question had been clear. One tactic. Andrea had provided 73, case closed. But Commander Jakara presented a different perspective. She pulled up historical records of human military innovations throughout coalition history. Time and again, human officers had succeeded by thinking beyond conventional parameters, by seeing possibilities where others saw only limitations. The question tested whether candidates could identify a single viable tactic, Jakara argued before the council. Candidate Andrea not only identified a viable tactic, but demonstrated comprehensive knowledge of tactical doctrine. She proved she understands not just one solution, but the entire spectrum of possibilities. How is this not superior performance? The crystalline Vextor council member pulsed with amber light, indicating contemplation. "By your logic, Commander, discipline and instruction become meaningless. If every candidate ignores parameters to showcase knowledge, how do we assess specific competencies?" "You assess judgment," Jakara replied. "The ability to determine when to follow the letter of the law and when to exceed it. That's what command requires, not blind obedience." The debate continued for 3 hours. Finally, the council reached a decision. Andrea was called before them the next day, with Alex standing beside her as moral support. The council chamber was imposing, with representatives from dozens of species arranged in concentric circles around the central platform. The council chair, an ancient being whose species Andrea couldn't identify, spoke with a voice like grinding stone. "Candidate Andrea, the council has reviewed your examination and the subsequent appeal. We have determined that while you did not follow the literal instruction of question 17, your response demonstrated exceptional tactical knowledge." Andrea's heart pounded. "However," the chair continued, "military operations require the ability to follow orders precisely, even when one believes they could do more. This is not a flaw in your knowledge, but a lesson in discipline." Andrea felt her hopes crashing. "Therefore, we offer you a choice. Accept your current failing grade and retest next cycle, having learned this lesson. Or accept a conditional passing grade with the understanding that you will undergo additional training in operational discipline and order compliance." Alex grabbed Andrea's hand and squeezed. Andrea stepped forward. "With respect, Council Chair, I choose a third option." The chamber fell silent. The chair's multifaceted eyes focused on her with unsettling intensity. "I request," Andrea continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "that my answer be considered correct as submitted because naming 73 tactics inherently includes naming one tactic. I fulfilled the requirement. I simply exceeded it. And if the coalition's military doctrine cannot distinguish between failure to follow orders and excellence in performance, then perhaps the coalition needs to reconsider how it evaluates human candidates." The silence stretched. Alex's grip on her hand tightened painfully. Then Commander Jakara began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, and built into full, hearty laughter that echoed through the chamber. Other human observers joined in, and slowly a few alien species who had worked closely with humans added their own expressions of amusement. The council chair's eyes shifted through several colors. Finally, what might have been a smile crossed its alien features. "Spoken like a true human," it said. "Very well, your answer is accepted as correct. Welcome to the Coalition Command Program, Cadet Andrea. Try not to name more than 100 tactics on your next examination." As they left the chamber, Alex pulled Andrea into a tight embrace. "You magnificent, stubborn, overachieving human," he whispered. Andrea laughed, relief flooding through her. "Just one tactic? They clearly haven't studied human military history." "Or human nature," Alex agreed. Behind them, Commander Jakara smiled. The Coalition was about to learn what Earth had always known. When you asked a human to give you one of something, you should probably specify that you didn't want 73, because humans, by their very nature, would always find a way to exceed expectations, even when it got them marked wrong.